Good Wednesday afternoon to you. 4 o'clock time for Sports for CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good day. Browns players, another day off because of the Monday night game, getting ready to go to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. Stephen A. Smith, ESPN's First Take, his top 5 teams in the NFL after week 1.
Let's go to number 4 on the list. Please give it to me right now. Bam! The Cleveland Browns. Why? Because the Cincinnati Bengals were in the AFC Championship game. This is not a scrub team. They got Chase. They got Higgins. They got Boyd. Okay, excuse me, they got Mixon. And you know they got Joe Burrow. We just didn't see anybody. Why? Because they scored 3 points. 3 points. 3 points. Now, I understand that Deshaun Watson still got a ways to go. Didn't look that great. But that brother Nick Chubb is something special. Make no mistake about it. Myles Garrett, he's something special. Make no mistake about it. And when you look at the Cleveland Browns, everybody been talking about Cincinnati and Baltimore. They even mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers and not Cleveland. But Cleveland said, y'all must have forgot who the hell we got and what we can do. We gonna show y'all. 24-3. Gotta give them love this week.
With that, let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd, Locked On Browns podcast. And Jeff, we talked about this. Analysis isn't, well, Cleveland has never gotten it right. They got it right week 1. Now, I got to do it again, but week 1 wasn't perfect by any stretch, but you take that defensive performance every day. You give me 17 of those, you're going to be 17-0.
Well, the biggest takeaway from the defensive side of the ball is, and look, it's going to get more difficult down the road. In Cincinnati, look, they may go with this theory of not playing players in the preseason. And look, for 2 years it worked. They went to a Super Bowl. They certainly went to an AFC Championship game. But it just looked like a team that wasn't ready. The rain. And I don't know if it was the rain or, with Joe Burrow putting the glove on. I still wonder if Zadarius Smith got a piece of that hand on that first play of the game. Because it seemed after that Joe Burrow was just not really ready to go. Athletically, I thought this was a terrible matchup for him to return from a calf injury. He didn't have any burst ability to run away from pass rush. And now that the Browns defensive line is as deep and talented as it's ever been, that certainly made for a difficult scenario. But you saw halves to the football. You saw excitement. You saw everybody playing in unison. When the defensive line wasn't getting there, the secondary played the way they needed to. We saw linebackers freely moving around the field, not getting caught up in traffic like we've seen over the last couple of years. You had 11 guys on defense play as one, and that's the key. A lot of it has to do with the talent that is brought in. Certainly, a lot of it has to do with the major upgrades you made as the defensive coordinator by bringing in Jim Schwartz.
All right, so along those lines, 90-plus Pro Football Focus defensive grades, week 1, minimum 15 snaps. 2 Browns make that list, Grant Delpit and Zadarius Smith. So Browns and the Jets had 2. You see the Colts had a bunch of them. Who grabbed your, and certainly Delpit, Smith, Myles Garrett were all very good. Garrett had an 89.9, so he was almost at 90. Who grabbed your attention on the defensive side of the ball? There had to be a few of them.
For me, it was Grant Delpit. And watching as the game went on unfold, I'd actually put out a tweet. I thought at the time it had been the best Grant Delpit game I had ever seen of him in a Cleveland Browns uniform. We all know his rookie season got washed away by the Achilles injury. Year 2, now here you are basically as a rookie in the NFL, getting acclimated to the NFL, but also coming off an Achilles injury. Last year, he was dinged up to start. He finished year 2 strong. He finished year 3 strong. But this is the first opportunity he had to come out of the gate strong. And whether it was the coverage on T. Higgins down the field, whether it was the big hit on Joe Burrow, there were plays where he was stopping ball carriers, the receiver short of the line of scrimmage. He made phases in every aspect. Of a safety, he basically hit everything on the bingo card. He contributed in every single way. Now, you add this, and keep in mind, we didn't have Juan Thornhill yet, who's going to be, obviously, who they think is going to be a big playmaking free safety for them. But you get this kind of coverage, and then you get all of this that working in the back end where the safety group should be a lot more improved than they were last year. Delpit maybe taking a step, and McLeod, and, of course, Thornhill, just better players. But for Grant Delpit, it was just a pleasure to watch. Everything he did well. And just to be able to basically hit every spot, that you would be asked to do as a safety, deep coverage, underneath coverage, tackling. Grant Delpit, it was, and for me, it was probably one of the best games I've seen from a Browns safety. And if anybody wants to remember, go back to 2018. It was a Saturday night game in Denver. Baker hit a late touchdown pass to win it. But Jabril Peppers was an absolute monster that night in Denver. And I felt at Grant Delpit, that was the same type of effort you saw Sunday from him.
Yeah, the thing that really opened my eyes is the coverage on T. Higgins. It was really good. You don't expect a safety that big to be able to do that. And when you're going against T. Higgins, you better be big. Another guy in that defensive secondary, Greg Newsome, mic'd up for the game. Let's listen in.
Uh-oh. I'm mic'd up. Yeah, it's that time.
I don't know who to look out for this year.
You're right. Let's go. This is crazy. Defense, let's do it. Set the fucking tone, baby. That shit is strapped. Let's go. Let's go. Let's keep competing, bro.
Raining now. They just had to run that rock.
Make a play. Make a play.
The Bengals trying to convert. Burrow. Toss down. Myles Garrett gets home.
Come on! Come on! We all gonna get on Twitter. Cleveland is Cleveland, everybody. That's the standard, bro. Every week. Thank you for all the fans coming out. You are our 12th man on that field, so I appreciate you guys so much, and this is just the beginning.
Jeff, favorite part of that? That's the standard every week, and that, I believe, emanates from the guy you talked about earlier, Jim Schwartz.
Well, if we all remember, what was it, about 7-8 months ago? Greg Newsome and his tweets, and maybe he did it. These guys just want to play winning football. Look, at the end of the day, your contract's your contract, and guys just want to win. They want to go out there and compete. And I think what you're seeing from the Browns defensive unit is everybody's kind of looking around and realizing just how good the guy is next to you, the guy to your left, the guy to your right. I mean, we're talking about now, the Browns have players that were on this defense last year that couldn't make practice squads. The Browns just brought Tommy Togiai back to their practice squad because he couldn't make the practice squad down in Jacksonville. The uptick in talent on this defense, and it becomes contagious, and making plays becomes contagious. And and I know Jim Schwartz talked about this. Don't be lazy, man. Go celebrate. You bust your butts to do all this stuff. But you saw it. Whether it was Grant Delpit making plays, Greg Newsome making plays, J.O.K. making plays. Everybody just kind of flocked to each other, and it makes one player playing so confident making a play, it uplifts the others. And okay, well, I know he's got his, he's on his today. And then I got to get on mine. And then it's just kind of basically dominoes. And you got to the point where it was just, there was nothing Cincinnati could do. I mean, it was basically the small snowball going down the hill that basically just created an absolute avalanche. And this is a very, very good Cincinnati Bengals team. But you saw it, and just, and we were all saying, oh, maybe, a little pause, a little hesitation, could be a slow start. Nah, they came out the box with an absolute statement on Sunday. And this unit is extremely deep, extremely talented. And again, Juan Thornhill didn't even play on Sunday.
So just how dominant was it? Take a look at this. Browns defense, an average time to pressure of 1.95 seconds against the Bengals. Tied for the sixth fastest average time to pressure by a defense in a single game since the start of the 2019 season. That gives you an idea of just how dominant and how good that front 6-7, whatever you want to call it, performed against the Bengals on Sunday.
Oh, and this is what I had talked about, and I talked about it, in the week up to the game. I had talked about this in the offseason. You look at all the moves the Browns made, whether it was Tomlinson, Okoronkwo, then, of course, then after the draft, you bring in Zadarius Smith. Then late in the summer, you get Shelby Harris. And we're looking at the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're like, no, we're good. We brought in Orlando Brown. The Browns brought in like 5 better defensive linemen than they had last year. And I might be being kind. That number may be a little higher than that. But this defensive line room went from, again, guys that are barely struggling to make practice squads to guys that were starters, long time guys with a strong, proven track records of production in this league. And the other thing was Myles was able to get off the field a little bit. You don't have to worry about Myles Garrett now at about the 8-minute mark in the fourth quarter, maybe running out of gas because he's got to play almost every single snap. This defensive line is extremely deep. It's extremely talented. And everybody knows me, the offensive guy, but to sit here and want to wax poetic about that, it was just fun to watch. I mean, and everything that they did, and I think Jim Schwartz, like the creativity, and I think a lot of it is kind of, listening to the players and trying to do some different things. I mean, when you had Miles basically standing there over that center, basically, showing him he was going to cross them over one way or the other. And my first thought is, what exactly is Miles doing? And then afterwards, like, all right, no problem, do that again. I mean, you just allow your best player now to go be creative. And watching the Bengals right guard tap the center saying, hey, I got this guy over here. Whatever's about to happen, you're on your own one-on-one. And you saw what it turned to. And the thing is, we've seen for years Miles continuously get pressure, but not get home all the time, of course. And there was never anybody else there. Now, when he gets there and the quarterback's either got to step up or move out, they are guys who have been proven to get the job done. And you saw Okoronkwo swoop in like, wow, all right, thanks for the easy sack, 95. Appreciate it.
Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, talk a little bit about the offensive side of the ball. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
How you doing? This is Chad in Sarasota, Florida. Love the show. I just wanted to call in and calm everybody down about the Deshaun Watson performance on Sunday. Great quarterbacks find a way to win, and all this talk about him not performing up to the contract, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, the elements were obviously a factor. We have Joe Burrow, who is the highest paid NFL player in history, come out and be held to 80-plus yards passing. It was abysmal performance, and yet we just keep comparing and contrasting Deshaun Watson to not looking like he did in 2020. And the fact of the matter is he didn't throw the ball well, but nobody did that game. And he did what it took to win. People just need to calm down, start being a little bit more positive, and understand that we can rely on this defense. This defense is straight fire. Love the show. Go Cleveland.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jeff, I was concerned. There were a couple throws where, he didn't get the ball where he wanted to. The full cramping, I didn't know at the time when I was watching. I was like, that doesn't look good. He needs to be a little bit better, but to the point, the weather affected that quite a bit.
Well, there was also, a couple of things. Like Marquise Goodwin, now you keep in mind, Marquise missed all the time that he did. Here is a guy his game is straight speed. So you ran that play where Chubb took the snap, handed it to Deshaun. Deshaun turned. The ball needed to be thrown right then and there. He tried to navigate and create a little bit better of a window opportunity to throw the ball. And at that point, the coverage just had the time to basically close, the window that was there with Marquise Goodwin. But it is, at the end of the day, it was still week one. A lot of quarterbacks are going to struggle at that time. I thought when he took the shot, which was probably a minute and change as the first half was going out, which led to the touchdown. Once he took that hit, he seemed like a whole different guy, I think, after that. He seemed like he was a little bit more dialed in. I'm sure definitely there's nerves. I mean, the other thing is it's tough to open up against Cincinnati, the fact that they are the division champion 2 years in a row. But once it got to 10-0, you saw that the team played a lot more loose and relaxed on the offensive side of the ball. Do I think the passing game is going to come around? I do. I truly think it's going to come around. It was just week one. Obviously the weather was a factor. A couple of balls that just seemed like obviously really short of the target, like his opener last year when he came back from the suspension against the Houston Texans. But at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson is not being paid the money he's being paid for statistical output. Deshaun Watson is being paid the money he's being paid to make sure the Browns win a boatload more games than they lose. And getting a Week 1 victory at home against the Cincinnati Bengals seems like the right start to it.
Yep. The other thing is the throw that he made over the cornerback in front of the safety, right to that told me, okay, he's fine. And the other thing, he beat him with his legs. The touchdown at the end of the quarter where he audibled, those are the type of plays elite quarterbacks make. So we made a couple of them. And as you said, 24-3, we take that. Now, DeJuan Jones is going to get a start against the Steelers. Take a look at Brian Baldinger breaking down his performance against the Bengals after he went in for the injured Jack Conklin.
You watch this right here. This is play action. Like here he is blocking DJ Reader. These are two big people. The ground shakes. There's tremors right there when they go at it, right? But watch this little shot right to the throat. Bam. Look who's winning that battle right there. That's 750 pounds. Deshaun Watson make the throw. All right, now you get this. What does this feel like if you're Sam Hubbard? Like Sam Hubbard is a good player, a great player. Like really, like been to Super Bowls and AFC championship games. But when Big Thanos sits on you like that, what can you do? Like, you just like, man, is that a bad dream or what? And then Chubb started going right. The outside zone. They're getting guys on skates right here. Chubb's like, little cut, right to the free safety. Bam, nobody wants to feel that. Then you get this right here. You get this like, I said he's like a Pacific manta. His wingspan is so big. Like here he is just swimming through the waters of Cleveland's lake right there. Just taking Logan Wilson and just running him just to the other side of the field. And there goes Chubb, right? Look at him. Watch him. He runs him from one side of Cleveland to the other side. Like there he is. Right off the screen. Big Thanos. Excellent debut yesterday.
And, Jeff, that reminds me of the scene from The Blind Side. He's going to take him to the bus and make sure he gets back to Cincinnati okay. Relative to the challenge that he has in Pittsburgh, T.J. Watt will likely try to find him.
Well, if everybody remembers a couple of years ago on Monday Night Football, the Cleveland Browns traveled to Pittsburgh for a Monday Night affair. The Browns started a right tackle that night named James Hudson. T.J. Watt had 4 sacks. And that night, the Browns kind of left James Hudson alone, which really, really seemed odd. Certainly after the first sack, certainly after the second sack, and they kind of kept it going on. But, the plan will be, we'll give him help if he needs it. But, the Browns obviously thought a lot higher of DeJuan Jones than a lot of other teams in the NFL and just had the opportunity to grab him where he did. The pass blocking to this point, look, this is the talk of summer. This was the biggest talking point of the Browns summer, whether it was practices, whether it was preseason games, was just how smooth and how polished and how ready this guy looked. And Brian Baldinger, before that breakdown, was breaking him down every week during the summer and said he's ready to go. The Browns kind of have a problem because he's ready to play, but the Browns have a right tackle. Sometimes, things sometimes have a way of, finding a way to work out. And sadly that, Jack Conklin is now gone for the year. But the Browns, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I mean, it's terrible, but it's not like, oh, no, we have a problem because we have a guy that we feel is really ready to go. People have questions about the run blocking. And you got to keep in mind, when he was playing in the summer, he never took it down with Nick Chubb because Nick Chubb's not out there. So he's in a point now where the play speed is picking up as far as the run. So that, will it take a little time to improve? But, I mean, you saw a couple of clips there. He obviously knows what he's doing. He knows where he's supposed to be. It's just getting, basically himself, more reps and just being able to fine tune it. When he's going to be out there standing right next to Wyatt Teller, who's obviously a student of the game and knows this offense like the back of his hand. The Browns could probably get equal play of what they were going to get out of Jack Conklin this year with the way DeJuan Jones looks now. And there is always basically, the mountain unit. It takes time to get around DeJuan Jones. Even if he doesn't get his hands on you, you ain't making it around DeJuan Jones in a half a second. It's going to take some time to move around 6'8", 360.
All right, so the Browns promoted Michael Dunn from the practice squad to the active roster yesterday when they put Jack Conklin officially on the IR. They also have Alex Leatherwood, former first-round pick, who is on the practice squad. The Bengals just cut Leal Collins. Veterans Taylor Lewan out there, Dennis Kelly as well. Do you think they make a move for a veteran, or do you think right now they're pretty good with what they have between Jones, Dunn, Hudson?
I think, look, the La'el Collins thing, you're not going to do that because, basically they're going to say, hey, can you come here? We'll give you a little money. But, the grand thought process for the Browns would be is, unless the kid fails. Obviously, they don't think he's going to fail. So why would La'el Collins, sign a contract to come play for the Browns? No. I honestly, I don't see a reason they're going to pursue it right now. The talks I've had with some people as far as Leatherwood said Leatherwood is really excited to be here. He's really excited for the opportunity, to basically, resurrect his career, resurrect his name, so to speak. And, everybody around the league knows who Bill Callahan is, knows the potential of Bill Callahan. And as long as, basically you accept coaching and you put in the work, Bill Callahan should get you where you need to go. But, you look at this tackle room now for the Browns. I mean, you have, Wills is basically the elder statesman here. You have Leatherwood, who is 1 year behind him. Obviously, DeJuan Jones is the rookie. Now Hudson is in year 3. I think they're fine where they're at. I don't believe, and it is good because he got to play as much as the game as he did. So it's, the Browns got a good first sample size for DeJuan Jones on Sunday. But, I think for right now, I think Cleveland's thought is that DeJuan Jones is, going to be a starting tackle for them probably for the next decade.
Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Now I'm going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We turn our attention to the Steelers matchup when we return. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Rico. I saw a stat that's actually pretty impressive from the Steelers. They've won 20 straight Monday night games at home. They've won 19 straight over the Browns at home. Well, all good things come to an end. The 49ers have an elite defense, but I also believe so do the Browns. Miles can definitely take advantage of the poorest O-line of the Steelers, along with Z. Smith and Obo. I mean, Pickett didn't handle the pressure very well from the Niners, and I also think Pickett can wreck some havoc too. Elf around and find out. Let's go. All white Monday night. Woo-hoo.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jeff, when you look at the Steelers' length of success against Browns, that was with Ben Roethlisberger. Don't confuse Kenny Pickett with Ben Roethlisberger. I know the national media had talked about a breakout year, and he didn't look good against 49ers. He just didn't. And you can be sure Jim Schwartz is going to try to do the same thing, which is get after him.
Well, look, Jim Schwartz is, Jim Schwartz runs the defense. He would do that to his own mother. And that's just the way Jim Schwartz is. If the quarterback does not even get to throw the ball, then there's no way he's going to basically beat you on defense. So, but, exactly. Look, you saw, Pickett get rattled, obviously the 2 interceptions. So, what he's all right. Well, he's still kind of playing like a rookie. He's got 14 games under his belt. He's still never thrown more than 1 touchdown pass. Nobody cares what he did in the summer. I'm saying a lot of those games that he played, he wasn't playing against starting defenses. So it was great that he got the work in. But, now you're starting to see, players that are true stars in this league. And, look, for Pittsburgh, this was always – it's great to get your first 2 games at home to start a season. But when it was going to be San Francisco week 1, and why nobody listened to us talk about how good this Browns defense was going to be, now, week 2 – this can be really, really crushing for Pittsburgh. I mean, because you start the season with 2 home games, but you possibly lose them both. So now you're 0-2, and now you got to start going on the road here. Granted, you're getting some of your tougher competition out of the way early, but Pittsburgh, it just didn't look like a good product. And you have the potential of some issues there. Look, we know Deontay Johnson, even though he's hurt, he's had issues in the past when he's not getting the ball. We can already see that Pickens maybe has some issues when he's not getting the ball. You lost. I mean, I don't know if you say Watt's more valuable or Hayward's more valuable. I say Hayward's more valuable because I think he's probably the biggest team leader in that locker room. This is a really, really tough situation right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Mike Tomlin, he'll say it all the time. He's one of the best coaches in the league. But look, sometimes if you just ain't got the guys, you just ain't got the guys, and coaching cannot overcome that.
So you alluded to this. So Kenny Pickett has now played 14 games in the NFL and is yet to throw more than one touchdown in a game. Desmond Ridder, who had a higher QBR last week, 8 less starts, has done that. And then this from Mac, who he used. Yeah, Pickett will put 40 on the Browns, but it might take him 6 games to do so. Again, Jim Schwartz, the concern when you look at this, we'll get into the matchup a little bit. Jim Schwartz is going to probably put a bunch of guys at the line, and Pickett's going to have to identify who's dropping and who's coming. And they're going to bring more than they drop more often than not against him.
Well, and that's not even counting the fact, Dave, that you're asking every one of those offensive linemen to win their one-on-ones against Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Zadarius Smith, Ogbenai Okoronkwo, and the list goes on. So you're asking all your offensive linemen to win their one-on-ones and then still hopefully identify blitz and have that picked up. Well, the Bengals couldn't do it last week, and certainly Joe Burrow's got a lot more experience than Kenny Pickett does. And you go to this last year. You look, with the 13 games Kenny Pickett played last year, he threw as many touchdown passes as Deshaun Watson did last year. So just because he puts on the helmet, just because he puts on the black jersey that says he's a Pittsburgh Steeler, doesn't automatically mean that Kenny Pickett is the next in line and will be this decade to a decade and a half starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, if he does not come through and this team is 0-2 and all of a sudden maybe it's a 1-4, 1-5 start out of the gate for the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's going to be a lot of questions within that organization.
All right. Mike Tomlin talked about that Browns defensive front seven.
On the defensive side of the ball, they've been a top-notch four-down group in terms of personnel. They went out and hired a veteran four-down personnel expert in Jim Schwartz. Man, I've known him for a long time. He fits them. They fit him. They get after people with that front four. They picked up Zadarius Smith to partner with Myles Garrett. They always got a top-notch partner for Myles Garrett. A number of years ago it was Olivier Vernon. Most recently it was Clowney, and now it's Zadarius. We respect Zadarius. We know him, obviously, from being in this division. He's a dominant run-down player. He's also adept at passing, rushing the passer. He's a guy that's an outside-inside guy. They'll move him around. They'll move 95 around. It'll be difficult to nail down where they are and work to minimize them from a protection standpoint. They got some front flexibility that aids them in that regard. They got good second-level linebacker play. They got some continuity there. They got Wu, who they drafted out of Notre Dame, man, who is a sideline-to-sideline tackler, man. He covers a lot of ground.
And again, Jeff, he knows what's coming. I expect them to try to run the ball if they can, because I don't think you can't put the ball in Kenny Pickett's hands and say, go beat this team, because you're going to lose.
But you're going to rely on their offensive line playing better than the Browns' defensive line. If you look at the numbers from last week, Cincinnati didn't run the ball. You take out that one run that Joe Mixon had, I think it was 22, 23 yards. Then you go and basically take that out and look at the average from there. And Cincinnati didn't run the ball. Pittsburgh wasn't able to run the ball against San Francisco. But that's also, a lot of this is also game dictated. So if, Cleveland's able to score on a couple of drives, that's great if you want to try to run it and save your quarterback who's not performing at the level you're hoping for him to perform at. But we know, this is the whole reason now that the Browns offense is where it's at. It's really, really hard in this day and age in the NFL to be a team that runs the ball better than you throw the ball. It just makes the drives go too long. You end up, tiring out your running back, so you don't have sustainability for an entire season. It's not the recipe that works in the modern day NFL. You can try it for 1 week, But also, what does that truly say for Pittsburgh is, we're going to hopefully try to keep this game close, by running the ball. If you think Kenny Pickett's your guy, Kenny Pickett at some point or another, he can't hide forever. He's going to have to go out and use his arm and win you ball games.
Yeah, the other thing is, so with Johnson out, Pickens is the main threat. Who do you think the Browns match up with him defensively? I have a guy in mind.
Oh, it's going to be 23. It's going to be MJ Emerson. Yeah, and look, Emerson is here for these type of guys. Obviously, T. Higgins. He's obviously here for Pickens. He's here for the bigger wide receiver of the group. And he's got the length. He's got the nastiness. I mean, and this is the thing that kind of, it's tough about an effort like Sunday is not everybody's going to get talked about. Everybody on the Browns defense played well Sunday. Everybody. But some guys, you just can't sit down and, look, my show, I have to be a half an hour every single day or less. So I can't sit down and give you 5 minutes on every player that deserves to be spoken of. But Martin Emerson, this is why he's here. Denzel is great at what he does. We know where Genu is going to be. And look, I think he's found his peace with it. And I think now that he's more comfortable with it. And I think now that he realizes that Jim Schwartz is going to be a key for this team winning. I don't think Greg Newsome really cares where he plays. He just wants to be on the field. But Martin Emerson on that outside for these bigger wide receivers, this is why he's here in Cleveland.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what I thought as well. And I think he's got the demeanor and the game that will frustrate Pickens against the Browns on Monday night. Jeff Lloyd, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Anytime, Dave. Everybody looking forward to week 2.
Make sure you check him out, Jeff Lloyd, Locked On Browns podcast. Always really good stuff. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily straight ahead. We continue talking Browns. Sports4CLE will be right back.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey there, guys. On the note of the national media trusting in the Browns, say that they start off 2-0 now after beating the Bengals, and say they beat the Steelers as well. National media might flip, start believing in them. But as a Browns fan myself, more tempted to be reserved early on. Early success doesn't mean much. Doesn't mean anything, in fact, at the end of the year if you can't capitalize off of it. So don't jump on the hype train would be my 2 cents. Thank you guys for what you do.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. And Casey, I get fans thought that, you don't want to get too pumped up, but good defense, an offense that can run the ball, and a quarterback that can make plays. Those things usually travel deep into January and February in the NFL.
It's a good recipe to have.
Yep.
And I can see it going both ways. We saw towards the end of preseason, some national media was beginning to warm up to the idea that the talent on this roster need to be respected. Some even going so far as to name the Browns as a dark horse in the AFC. But there's always going to be those guys whose heels are dug in so far, and on Watson's going to fail, and it'll never work in Cleveland. And no matter what happens, they're going to find excuses to why it's going that way. But if I'm the Browns, I want to be under the radar. I think that's the easiest path. So we'll see how it plays out. If they keep stacking wins like they did on Sunday, and then the defense plays the way it does, eventually everyone's going to have to come around.
Oh, yeah. That'll open some eyes. You do that to that offense with Joe Burrow and those wide receivers, 82 yards passing. That'll get some attention without question. All right, I know you wrote an article, Stock Up, Stock Down. Stock Up, you have Nick Chubb, Grant Delpit, Jim Schwartz. Stock Down, Jerome Ford, Jedrick Wills. Now, when we talk about that, Nick Chubb, for everybody that was concerned about Nick Chubb's role being diminished, and I said this earlier in the week, maybe even more impressive was I think you saw early they wanted to throw the ball, and Kevin Stefanski said, "Wow, that's just not going to happen. Let's go back and run it." There was a pivot in that first half, and I think that let's hope that's the sign of a head coach maturing.
Yeah, I think that's the key word. They had to pivot. Plan A wasn't working. I mean, they have Nick Chubb. That's the best plan B in all of football right there. Nick Chubb, he's Apple stock. I mean, you can be mad you didn't get in on him early, but the next best time to do it's right now. He's still going up, and he's a guy that can handle that, because we had this conception when the Browns start to pass more, it's going to open up the boxes. Well, that wasn't the case on Sunday. Everyone knew that we were still going to run it because of the weather. Didn't stop Nick Chubb, 5.9 a carry. It's all good, business as usual.
The other thing that was impressive was getting him the ball past the first level of the defense, and you saw that. I think he had 4 catches. You saw he could catch the ball. That's going to be a problem for defenses.
Yeah, 4 catches, 4 targets. That's efficiency. And anytime you can get the ball in the hand of your best player in open space, that's a great thing. Unless you're the defense, it's the last thing you want to see is Nick Chubb in the open field.
Yeah, the other thing, Jim Schwartz defense, what we thought it would be, and it kind of snowballed. So it also came out. He wants them to celebrate. He wants them to show the emotion. You know very well, we heard fans for so long last year and even the year before, the defense just looks dead. Well, they're not dead anymore.
No, and I think even if you take scheme stuff aside, just the fire intensity in which they went about their business against the Bengals, that's what we've been waiting for, that right there. And even the other small things, like we talk about, like the lack of the communication issues in the past, they're over-communicating out there. They're very vocal. And this is all stuff that comes along with Jim Schwartz. And along with Jim Schwartz, you also get the play of Grant Delpit. We've been waiting on this. They weaponized Grant Delpit. He was everywhere on Sunday. 8 total tackles, 7 solo, 1 tackle for loss, a beautiful pass defense against T. Higgins. That is the player they've been waiting on him to become. Now it's all about consistency for Delpit because he's flashed in the past. He's definitely not had a game like he had on Sunday before. But now it's about stacking those and become a difference maker, a player that when offensive coordinators get together, they have to circle his number on a whiteboard and say, do not let this guy beat you. A guy that quarterbacks have to identify when they come to the line. If Grant Delpit can be what he was on Sunday, week in and week out, the Browns will have something special.
So former Super Bowl winning defensive back Jason McCourty on his top 5 defensive backs on NFL's Good Morning Football.
Number 4, we're going to the land. That is Cleveland with an unbelievable performance from safety, Grant
LSU,
Delpit.
let's go.
You know what I love about this list? Because how many people was thinking Grant Delpit was going to be on the list this morning? But when you go out there and you ball and you play against some of the better talent in the league, going against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals weapons, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass breakup, and a monster hit on cool Joe Burrow. Grant Delpit was getting it done. Boom. And this is a game where you turn it on and you're like, I'm an LSU fan. I'm like, I'm watching Joe Burrow. I'm watching Jamar Chase. The best LSU Tiger on the field was Grant Delpit. He was the guy. New defense, new coordinator. I'm out here balling. I am getting it done. Doesn't matter who he's matched on. Do your handshakes, all that. Now he's matched up in the slot, guarding a wide receiver. Right after this play, he gets up, he says to T. Higgins, he says, your mama named you T, but I'm giving you this L. Knocking the ball away. That's what it is all about. Look at it in slow-mo. The rain coming. That is football. That is Cleveland. That, my friends, is Grant Delpit.
Finally healthy. This is a guy that was a huge prospect in college.
And now he's out there making plays. Number 4, Grant Delpit.
And Casey, the most impressive thing was him in coverage against T. Higgins. He's not even your free safety. That's a box safety covering one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, just showing how versatile we can be and not pegged into one thing. Let him do multiple things. He's that guy. He's that guy that he's going to have to be identified. You know, he can be an X factor for this defense. And I've also heard the talk that, you know, if he has a stellar year, he could play himself out of Cleveland. I am done doubting Andrew Berry's ability to free up money to pay players. It's happened to me so many times where I thought it was a foregone conclusion they weren't going to be able to find the money to extend someone, and it happens every time. If he proves to be the difference maker I believe he can be, Andrew Berry will find that money.
Yeah, and you know what? They may find it during the season because they freed up some money to be able to do those kind of things. Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll talk a little bit about Deshaun Watson. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Rico. I'm getting really tired of the so-called experts always bashing Watson. On Sunday, he displayed traits that define what a franchise caliber looks like. Yes, his passing stats weren't great, but he was able to adjust for the weather and make the plays that were there to make. He did complete some clutch throws, and he did run the ball when it was necessary. In the meantime, let's just disregard the weather for Watson, but use that as a valid excuse for Burrow. I understand that Burrow has built up some equity, so he can have a few bad games and it's quickly dismissed. But Watson is the Browns' franchise quarterback, and he will continue to improve. That's all I have to say, man. Thanks. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Casey, I think that's a really valid point. And I was concerned a little bit early in the game with his throwing the ball. But he made the plays that you want an elite quarterback to make. The run before halftime, that drive, there was a couple of throws that he made over an underneath defender, in front of a deep defender, right to his receiver. Yeah, you want to see some of the throws get cleaned up, but he made the play. You won by 21 points, and you know, he made plays that you needed him to make.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not your A game. It is what it is. Like when he came out, he was definitely amped up a little bit, and I mean, it is what it is. Like the weather happened. I mean, you had to play through it. He wasn't completing the balls he was wanting to complete early. He missed a couple shots to Goodwin, but he found a way. I mean, they scored 24 points in a terrible weather game. That's not nothing. You led the team to that. Those weren't off turnovers. I mean, you had some decent field position due to special teams, but you had to lead the team down the field, and he was able to do that. And that run right before the halftime on a canned call where he took a quarterback draw, like he had to can that call and recognize the formation and make that happen. And he had to believe in his athleticism to do so. Sometimes it's not going to be your A game. Sometimes you have to pivot. And he can win with more than just one thing. He's a versatile weapon as a quarterback. And to ignore those traits is just short-sighted. To allow the weather to be an excuse for Burrow, but say that, Watson should have been better. To me, that's Burrow getting the benefit of the doubt, something that Watson is not going to get in this league.
Yeah, but you know what? That's fine. You're not going to change that. But you look at Watson's stats relative to Burrow, and you see, maybe he didn't do so bad. He threw for 150-some yards. Burrow threw for 82. Well, here's Colin Cowherd's take on Deshaun Watson after his performance against the Bengals. It's always amusing.
Basically inactivity for 2 years, and all these young quarterbacks come in. To be great, just think how hard it is to make the National Football League. 2% of college players make the NFL. To be a star at the most difficult position. The guy was mostly inactive for 2 years, controversy and stress. And I never thought he was a brilliant thrower of the football. He was okay. He was a playmaker.
He was really good in Houston. Him and DeAndre Hopkins had something back in the day.
But I watched them, and it's just like it's just not – I don't see a lot of what everybody loves about Deshaun Watson.
Well, I'll give him a slight pass due to the inclement weather.
And the weather was bad.
Weather was bad.
Casey, this is the guy that thought Ben Simmons was going to be the face of the NBA a few years back. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, it kind of goes to your point. Some people are just not going to give him the same benefit of the doubt they give Joe Burrow and the other quarterbacks.
Can you imagine what kind of numbers Watson would have to be in consideration for the MVP? I mean, it would be astronomical. No one's going to want to admit it, but we'll see as it gets going, because he's going to have opportunities to put up some nice numbers here in the next few weeks. And as that happens, we'll see who comes around and who doesn't. But I'm not surprised. People are going to doubt. People are going to hate. It's par for the course at this point, isn't it?
At the end of the day, the fact that he was away from the game for 2 years means he didn't take the beating that a quarterback takes in the NFL as well. And I'm guessing the 2 years he's been away, he wants to go deep in the playoffs. He wants a chance to play in the Super Bowl. That's the thing that everybody plays for. And if you do that, the other stuff comes around. Along those lines, CBS Sports updated power rankings. So heading into week 2, they have the 49ers number 1, the Eagles 2, Jaguars and Chiefs 3 and 4. Cowboys check in at number 5, Ravens 6, and the Browns up a couple of spots to number 7. Defense was suffocating against the Bengals, which is a good sign. Offense wasn't great, but it did enough in the elements. That's a fair estimation of what it was. And the other thing is, you found out Nick Chubb's going to still be a big part of this offense.
Yeah, I struggle sometimes because 24 points in those elements, that's pretty good. And there was still meat on the bones. That's where I would say that wasn't great. There's room for improvement, things they can clean up. But 24 points is going to be good with good weather with this defense. I mean, 24 points is going to win you a lot of games when the defense is playing like that. So I can't be too down on the offense. I mean, if you look on the other side of the ball, what Cincinnati wasn't able to do, I think you're in a pretty good spot, You had 5 scoring drives. And true, 3 of those in field goals, but in those games, man, you're going to need those kicks. So, yeah, I think 7's a good spot. I would argue, I did watch the Ravens game. I would argue that I would favor the Browns against the Ravens right now today. But it's nice to see them get some love and get inside that top 10.
Yeah, that's I would agree with you on the Ravens. They don't have their top back in J.K. Dobbins. They're a little banged up as well other places. The other thing is, Browns scored 24 points, gave up 3. They were -2 in turnovers. So they overcame a couple of mistakes to still make it lopsided.
Yeah, and that's something they have to clean up because you do not want to be -2 in that category. But yeah, it goes to show what kind of beating that defense put on the Bengals offense, where they could be -2 and takeaways and still do what they did to an explosive offense. It is like that offense, and the Bengals will get back on track. They have too much talent not to. But it's just comical to me to see how the Bengals fans are reacting to that loss as the week goes on, making every excuse they can. But at the end of the day, man, styles make fights, and the Browns are built to deal with a team like that.
Yeah, and you know what? Doesn't matter. It goes in the win column and you move on. That's kind of the way it works. Casey Kinnamon and I are going to take one more time out of the side break. Back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll turn our attention a little bit more to the Steelers. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yes, this is Keith calling from Columbus. Repeat caller. Go Dog Pound. Woof, woof. Let's start with Deshaun Watson. You can win the game in more than one facet. He will be clicking. The pass game will be clicking in due time. This is still game 7 in the last 2 years. The defense and the run game and him just being competent will allow us to keep winning games. Next thing, Monday night, Pittsburgh. And this is not an overreaction. This is going to be a blowout. We're going to blow them out. Put it in the books. This is not a fan overreaction once again. This is just facts. Go Dog Pound. Oof.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Casey, there's an opportunity. You can't knock the Steelers out, but you can certainly put them on the deck if you get up 2 games first 2 weeks on them.
When the schedule came out, this was the one that I was focused on. This is a statement game right here, not just to yourself or to the opponent, to your division, the conference, and the league. You got to go into Pittsburgh, a place you have historically not succeeded in, and go in there and put your foot on their throat. You have the superior roster. You go in there and you show them this team is different. You don't give them hope. You know, if you watch the game they had against the 49ers, I'm being dead serious when I say if the Browns defense that showed up on Sunday shows up on Monday night, the Steelers are going to struggle to cross the 50. I mean, it's that simple. But you got to go out there and handle your business. You don't handle your business, you let the Steelers hang around, you can walk out there with your head down. But you have a big opportunity right here to go and beat a team you 100% should beat.
And the Steelers are going to come into that desperate. They realize they go down. You know, they could be if the Ravens and Bengals play each other. So if the Ravens beat the Bengals, Browns and the Ravens could be 2 up on the division 2 weeks into this. That doesn't happen. So that's how much is at stake there. This is interesting as well. This is from The Ringer. So it's ranking how, quote unquote, all in each NFL team is for 2023. Browns have number 1, spending ranking number 1, draft ranking number 1. Ending this season without a playoff win would be an abject failure. A season without a playoff appearance would be a catastrophe. I get where they're going with that. You got to tell me, you know, are the Browns going to be, you know, for the most part healthy? If you get a huge injury to your quarterback or a key part of this roster, playoffs are going to be tough.
Yeah, especially in a stacked AFC. But I agree with their line of thinking. You look at the Browns' actions. They're 100% all in. All the chips are on the middle of the table. Every move they've made, all the money they freed up to keep these contracts going, they have openly admitted through their actions, this is their window, and they're in it now. But like, there's a world in which they finish 11-6 and miss out on the playoffs due to some weird tiebreaker. The AFC is just that deep. So I can't sit here and say that that is some abject failure, but of course that's the goal. This team's goal is not just to make the playoffs. This team is chasing a trophy. That's what happens when you go all in, when you have a bunch of players in 26, 27, 28 years old, right in their prime, all playing together. That's what this has all been building towards, and that has to be your goal. If that's not your goal, what are you even doing this for?
Right.
They're just openly admitting it through their actions that this is their window.
Well, look at the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. They're Super Bowl contenders. Well, they might be able to make. There are no absolutes in an NFL season just because of how physical and how quickly things change. Observations from each team for Week 1. This is from Pro Football Focus. Browns. Nick Chubb led the NFL with 5 rushes of 10-plus yards in Week 1. So the more things change with your offense, the more they stay. He doesn't matter. He's just going to find a way to do what you ask him to do.
This just in. The sky is still blue. Nick Chubb, he gets up, he puts his pants on like everyone else, except when he does, puts on a Superman cape as well. Like we're blessed. We're blessed to live in this. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player, and the Browns have they've been monitoring his carries. They haven't let him get too much. This is the season that you just unleash him. You just let him go. And it does not have to be running the ball, but you get the ball in his hands any way you can, because only good things happen when he touches the ball. And I don't think anyone would be surprised if you tell them at the end of the season he's going to lead the league in explosive carries. It's the expectation at this point.
Yeah, the Nick Chubb is good portion of our show is back again for 2023. All right.
I'm all for it.
Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason one more time.
Hey, guys. It's Dan in Maryland here. I've been thinking for a while that the Browns should add a veteran running back to the practice squad just as insurance in case the unthinkable happens and Nick gets hurt, or even just as an insurance policy in case the young guys on the 53-man roster aren't quite up to it. I noticed that's what Baltimore did, but they retained Melvin Gordon on the practice squad, and he's already been elevated to the active roster with the J.K. Dobbins injury. Gordon's an example of a guy who's spent time on practice squads the past couple of years. Our old friends Duke Johnson and Dontrell Hilliard have as well, and I know there's a lot of better running backs out there, so I thought maybe that would be just a smart under-the-table thing they could do to give them a little bit of long-term depth, have a guy in the room in case they need him. And keep up the good work. Go Browns.
Yeah, that's an interesting line of thinking, and I don't disagree with it, but it doesn't look like the Browns are subscribing. You had Wilkins, and boy, that Jordan Wilkins, it was like 2 handoffs, and he couldn't take the handoff. That's a problem.
Yeah, I get the caller's line of thinking. I just don't think it's an immediate need right now. There is a bevy of free agent backs out there, veterans, guys who have done it before, who probably aren't going to be keen to sign on a practice squad. So I think you stay the course. You don't live in your fears. Nick Chubb is who Nick Chubb is. You ride that, and if it's football, anything could happen. But I don't think you live in your fears in that, because if you need to pivot and you need to sign a veteran running back, there are plenty on the market for you to go and get.
All right, let's look at this Browns-Steelers game. What are some matchups you think decide this one?
There's a ton. Look at Broderick Jones getting his first start at left tackle, facing Myles Garrett. I'd start there. That's going to be one to monitor. But then on the other side of the ball, you have the same thing with T.J. Watt going up against DeJuan Jones in his first start at right tackle. So you're going to have plenty to watch on the line of scrimmage. I think one that could be key could be Deshaun going up against Minkah Fitzpatrick. If they're going to get this passing game going and hit explosive plays, they're going to have to manipulate him, and that starts with Watson and his eyes. But the funnest matchup on the field, bar none, is going to be Pickens versus Emerson. That's going to be the one that all my attention's on. It's going to get chippy. It's going to be fun. Emerson's not going to back down, and I could probably say the same for Pickens. So get your popcorn ready. Monday night's going to be a blast.
The other thing is Isaiah McGuire, the Browns rookie defensive end from Missouri who was inactive. He absolutely destroyed the left tackle.
Yeah, he took it to Broderick Jones.
Yeah.
He did.
So again, it wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility they have him active and let him go to work and move Miles around.
Yeah, you give Miles a breather, let Isaiah go in and take it to him part 2. But yeah, that's a tough spot to be in if you're Broderick Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, welcome to the league. There's no layups. First game, here's Myles Garrett. Best of luck to you, young man.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, you're going to also see Zadarius Smith and Obo Okonrankwo, and
This league will humble you. I don't care where you were drafted. So I hope the Steelers have all the faith they have in that young man. They're going to have to chip him, that's for sure.
Casey Kinnamon, Dog Pound Daily, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Casey.
Hey, always a blast. Good talking with you, Dave.
Casey Kinnamon, make sure you check him out. Really good stuff. Dog Pound Daily. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.